Maybe you've heard of the blood type diet, maybe you haven't. But in this video, all we're going to talk about is the O blood types.
Not only is the condition rare, but Ridge also has an extremely rare blood type, O negative. Only 9 in every 100 people have that blood type.
Most people think they know what blood type O means. The universal donor, the safe, simple category that saves lives in emergencies. But when artificial intelligence recently reanalyzed vast amounts of genetic and medical data, the story of O turned out to be far stranger than expected. Hidden patterns, surprising health links, and evolutionary secrets are rewriting what we thought was settled science. Let's dive right in, because you might never look at blood the same way again. Blood type O, the basics, but with a twist. When you hear blood type O, chances are your mind jumps to one of two things.
You know what blood type you are?
Yeah, O positive.
But Canadian scientists think they've found a way to efficiently convert other blood types into O.
It's either the universal donor or simply the most common blood type. And that's not wrong. But the real story of O blood is richer, more curious, and a lot less boring than a textbook explanation. Thanks to decades of research and now artificial intelligence combing through massive medical data sets, we know that O is full of oddities that don't quite fit the simple label it's been given. Let's start with the basics. Human blood is grouped into 4 main types under the ABO system: A, B, AB, and O.
How does your blood type impact your risk? Of the 4 main blood groups, A, B, AB, and O,
these categories come down to tiny chemical markers, antigens, sitting on the surface of your red blood cells. Think of them like little name tags your cells wear. Type A has the A antigen, type B has the B antigen, type AB wears both, and type O, well, O shows up without either tag. That's why scientists often call it the null blood type. It looks blank, like a cell without any identity badge. This blankness is actually what makes O so powerful in medicine. Because O blood doesn't carry the A or B antigens, the immune systems of most patients don't freak out when O-type blood is transfused into them. That's how O earned the title universal donor. In emergency rooms around the world, when doctors don't have time to figure out someone's blood type, they reach for O negative, the safest bet. It's been a silent lifesaver for decades. But here's where things get interesting. O blood isn't just a humanitarian all-star. Genetically, it's also a fascinating mutation. Scientists believe the O type developed when a gene responsible for producing the A or B antigens lost a chunk of its instructions thousands of years ago.
It's a discovery that could save lives. Scientists have uncovered a new blood groups like A, B, and O.
In other words, O didn't come first. It's more like the rebel child of the blood type family. Yet today, O has become the most common blood type on the planet. Roughly 45% of people in the US are type O, and in some regions of South America, that number can climb to nearly 100%. Clearly, being blank has its perks. And here's a fun twist. O isn't the most common everywhere. In parts of Asia, type B is surprisingly dominant. In certain pockets of India, A takes the lead. These variations in global blood type distribution give us fascinating clues about human migration, survival, and even disease resistance. For example, in regions historically plagued by malaria, blood type O seems to have offered an advantage. People with O were less likely to suffer severe life-threatening malaria, giving them a survival edge that helped the type spread through populations over thousands of years. Of course, O blood has its own quirks and risks. While it may protect against certain diseases like malaria and even lower the risk of some clotting issues, it also makes people more vulnerable to others like stomach ulcers caused by Helicobacter pylori. In other words, nature rarely gives out free passes. What really shakes things up today, though, is AI's entry into the picture. For decades, blood typing was pretty straightforward. Are you A, B, AB, or O? Positive or negative? Done. But artificial intelligence is now sifting through massive global databases, spotting patterns invisible to human researchers. And it turns out, even within the seemingly blank category of O, there are hidden variations, subtle molecular differences, and unexplored connections to health outcomes that science is only beginning to uncover. While we've always thought of O as the basic, no-frills blood type, it's increasingly looking like the opposite. A genetic story full of survival, mystery, and unexpected complexity. And AI is finally pulling back the curtain. Watch this. Surprising new insights. For decades, doctors treated blood typing like a settled science. You were either A, B, AB, or O. Add the plus or minus for your Rh factor, and that was pretty much it. Simple, right? Well, not anymore. Artificial intelligence has a way of poking at things we thought were straightforward and revealing hidden layers, and blood type O turned out to be full of surprises. So, what did AI actually uncover? The first big headline is that O isn't as uniform as we assumed. For a long time, scientists categorized O blood under a single umbrella, basically treating everyone with O as if their blood was identical. But AI-driven analysis of genetic and molecular data has shown there are subtle subtypes within O that don't always behave the same way. It's like finding out your favorite plain vanilla ice cream actually comes in dozens of slightly different flavors. Differences too subtle for the human palate to pick up, but distinct enough to matter in medicine. One of the most intriguing discoveries is how these O subgroups interact differently with infectious diseases. For example, we already knew people with O blood seemed less vulnerable to severe malaria, which likely helped O spread in regions where malaria was a major killer. But AI analysis has found even more nuanced connections. Certain O variations appear to offer stronger protection against cholera, a disease that has shaped human history in devastating ways. On the flip side, some O subtypes may increase the risk of severe viral infections, such as norovirus, the notorious stomach flu bug that sweeps through schools and cruise ships.
Hospitals are reporting an unusually high number of norovirus cases.
COVID-19 added even more fuel to the fire. Early studies hinted that O blood types might be slightly less susceptible to severe COVID symptoms compared to A or AB types. AI-powered deep learning models that analyzed huge hospital datasets confirmed that the trend was real, but also that not all O types benefited equally. Those hidden subgroups AI revealed, they made a difference in outcomes. In other words, saying O blood protects against COVID is a massive oversimplification. The truth is, some O types do better than others, and only AI had the horsepower to sift through millions of records to pick that up. Another shocker, the so-called universal donor label isn't as absolute as we once thought. While O-negative is indeed the safest bet in emergencies, AI analysis of transfusion data shows that even O blood can carry subtle molecular quirks that trigger immune reactions in rare cases. These reactions used to be dismissed as anomalies, but with AI spotting patterns across global databases, it turns out these aren't random flukes. They're linked to hidden variations in O subgroups. This could be a game changer in how hospitals screen blood and match donors with recipients. Even more fascinating, AI has started mapping how O blood interacts with the gut microbiome, the trillions of bacteria living inside our digestive systems. Preliminary research suggests that O blood types may foster a slightly different microbial balance compared to A or B types, which might explain why O types are more prone to ulcers, but potentially less likely to develop certain metabolic diseases. That's not just trivia. It could eventually shape how personalized nutrition and medicine work. Imagine a future where your doctor doesn't just ask about your allergies or family history, but also your exact O subgroup before prescribing a treatment. Perhaps the most exciting part of all this is what it means for precision medicine. Until now, the ABO system has been treated like a blunt tool. Useful, yes, but not particularly refined. With AI revealing hidden layers, O blood isn't just a single category anymore. It's a spectrum. Doctors might one day be able to say, you're not just O positive. You're O positive with a specific molecular profile that makes you more resistant to disease X, but more vulnerable to condition Y. That level of detail could revolutionize preventive care, transfusions, and even organ transplants. And here's the kicker. We're only scratching the surface. AI thrives on big data, and as more hospitals, blood banks, and genetic databases share their information, the picture of O will only get sharper. Today's surprises may be tomorrow's standard medical knowledge. What used to be considered the plain, no-frills blood type is suddenly looking like one of the most complex and dynamic stories in human biology. The next time you hear someone casually say, "Oh, I'm just type O," you'll know the truth. There's no such thing as just O anymore. Oops! O and human evolution. If blood type O has one big mystery, it's this. Why did it become so common? After all, it started as a genetic mistake, a missing piece in the gene that codes for A or B antigens. By that logic, you'd expect it to be rare, maybe even vanish over time. But the opposite happened. O spread like wildfire, and in many parts of the world it became the dominant blood type. Clearly, something about O gave humans an edge. One theory is that O blood offered survival advantages against infectious diseases. Remember, red blood cell antigens aren't just random decorations. They influence how pathogens interact with our bodies. For instance, the malaria parasite, Plasmodium falciparum,
how we have malaria and beggars can't quite be choosers type of a deal.
tends to latch onto antigens on red blood cells. People with O blood, lacking those handles, are harder targets. Studies have shown that O carriers are less likely to suffer the deadliest complications of malaria, such as cerebral malaria.
Life-threatening anemias that are seen in some autoimmune diseases or in viral infection. Interestingly, this type of anemia is also seen in childhood malaria.
That could explain why O is so prevalent in Africa and other historically malaria-heavy regions. Simply put, O may have saved lives when it mattered most. But malaria isn't the only disease in the evolutionary story. Cholera, another historical killer, also seems to have shaped blood type distribution. Research suggests people with type O are more prone to severe dehydration from cholera.
A cholera outbreak ravaging Yemen, and it's spreading in an unprecedented manner, says the World Health Organization. 500 people since late April.
Which sounds like a disadvantage. Yet oddly, O still flourished in areas where cholera was common. Why this? This is where things get complicated and fascinating. Some scientists argue that while O carriers may have been hit harder by cholera outbreaks, they also may have been more resistant to other diseases circulating at the same time. In evolutionary terms, it's all about trade-offs. Then there's the question of whether O was the original blood type. For years, textbooks hinted that O might have come first.
Bass people have Rh-negative blood, and Rh-negative blood is one of the most unusual blood types,
with A and B developing later. After all, O is the most common. Shouldn't it be the root? But genetic analysis suggests otherwise. A is likely the ancestral blood type, with O arising from a mutation in the ABO gene thousands of years ago. Still, once it appeared, O spread rapidly. AI-driven population genetics models now suggest that O's success was partly due to random drift, but also heavily influenced by natural selection. In simple terms, being O made you more likely to survive certain epidemics, so the trait kept passing on. Geography also plays a huge role in O's distribution. In South and Central America, O dominates almost completely.
4% of people in the world have blood with Rh antigens on their red blood cells.
In some indigenous populations, the frequency of O blood is close to 100%. How did that happen? Theories point to migration patterns. When humans crossed into the Americas thousands of years ago, The small founding populations carried high percentages of O, and over generations, it became the overwhelming majority. In contrast, parts of Asia show more balance between A, B, and O, hinting at different survival pressures and migrations. What's really wild is how AI is adding new twists to these evolutionary puzzles. By analyzing DNA from ancient remains and comparing them with modern genomes, AI is helping scientists trace how blood types shifted across thousands of years. It's like watching a time lapse of human survival strategies. In some cases, it even shows how wars, plagues, and mass migrations reshaped the blood type map of entire continents. O wasn't just a passive passenger in human history. It was part of the story of who lived, who died, and who passed on their genes. And then there's diet, a controversial but intriguing angle. You've probably heard of the blood type diet, which claims people with O blood should eat more protein because their ancestors were hunters. While most scientists dismiss this as pseudoscience, there's a kernel of evolutionary truth. O blood did dominate in many hunter-gatherer populations, likely because it worked well in environments where infections and physical endurance were constant challenges. AI analysis of genetic markers tied to metabolism suggests there may indeed be subtle links between O and how the body processes certain nutrients, though far less dramatic than diet gurus like to claim. The takeaway: blood type O isn't just a quirk of genetics. It's a survival story written into human history. From malaria swamps to ancient migrations,
for the first time, scientists have caught malaria parasites in the act, invading a human red blood cell.
From South American rainforests to African savannas, O carried people through some of humanity's toughest challenges. It wasn't the first blood type, but once it showed up, evolution made sure it stuck around. Next time you think of O as the blank blood type, remember this: it's blank like a shield, not an empty page. When it comes to blood type O, the health conversation often sounds like a mashup of science, myth, and old wives' tales. You've probably heard people claim that O types are naturally healthier, stronger, or even more energetic. Some say O folks have warrior blood, while others warn they're more vulnerable to certain illnesses. So what's the truth? Health, risks, and strengths. Thanks to decades of medical studies and now AI crunching millions of patient records, we're finally getting a clearer picture. Let's start with one of O's most famous quirks: ulcers. If you're type O, you're more likely to develop stomach ulcers caused by Helicobacter pylori, the bacteria that inflames the stomach lining. This isn't a small link either. Studies have shown O carriers have about a 30 to 40% higher risk compared to A or B types. Why? One theory is that the lack of antigens in O blood somehow influences how the immune system interacts with H. pylori.
Why you might not be able to clear H. pylori the first go, and I wanted to answer this question because I think it's important for you to be aware.
Making it easier for the bacteria to set up shop. Not exactly the warrior advantage people like to brag about. O types tend to have lower risks of certain cardiovascular problems. Research has shown that O blood carriers often have lower levels of von Willebrand factor and clotting proteins in their blood. That sounds technical, but here's the bottom line. It means O blood is less likely to form dangerous clots that can trigger heart attacks and strokes. AI-driven hospital record analysis confirmed this protective trend, revealing that O carriers were underrepresented in severe clotting emergencies compared to other groups. So yes, there's a heart health bonus baked into type O. Another interesting angle is fertility. For years, doctors noticed that O women seem to have lower ovarian reserves compared to A or B. Some worried this meant O blood might reduce fertility. But AI's deep dive into fertility clinic records paints a more nuanced picture. While O carriers may sometimes show lower egg counts, they don't actually experience significantly reduced pregnancy success rates when treatments are factored in. Translation: it's not as simple or as scary as it once sounded. The immune system story is just as complex. People with O blood often mount strong immune responses, which may explain why O types historically fended off infections like malaria. But there's a trade-off. Those same immune quirks can make O carriers more vulnerable to intense reactions when they do get sick. For example, O types have shown higher risks of severe symptoms from certain viral infections like norovirus.
So norovirus is through what they call the fecal-oral route. Basically, it's a bacteria that's passed by contact.
AI models even picked up subtle differences in how O subgroups respond to common colds and flu, suggesting O immunity isn't a single superpower, but a mix of strengths and weak spots. Now, let's talk personality theories, because this is where science and pop culture collide. In Japan and South Korea, blood type is often treated like astrology. O types are stereotyped as confident, strong-willed, and even a little hot-headed. While fun at parties, these personality claims don't hold up in scientific studies. AI Meat mining projects that analyzed personality surveys and medical data found no consistent evidence linking O blood to specific personality traits. In short, your blood type won't decide if you're bold, shy, or the life of the party. Sorry, horoscope lovers. What's not myth, though, is how O blood affects medical treatment. O negative is still the universal donor, and O positive is the most common supply in blood banks. But AI has revealed small mismatches even within O transfusions. Some O carriers produce antibodies against lesser-known antigens, making certain transfusions riskier than expected. This explains why a handful of O2O transfusions in the past went sideways, something doctors used to scratch their heads about. Now we know it wasn't bad luck. It was hidden complexity that AI finally highlighted. Where does that leave us? If you're type O, you're not invincible, but you're not doomed either. You might dodge a heart attack, but deal with more digestive issues. You might resist malaria, but get hit harder by norovirus. Like everything in human biology, it's a balance of strengths and vulnerabilities. What's new and exciting is that I can now pinpoint those risks more precisely than ever before. The bottom line, O blood doesn't make you a warrior or a weakling. It makes you human, with your own unique mix of defenses and blind spots, and AI is helping us finally see the full picture. Speaking of warrior, the hero blood type. If there's one place where blood type O truly shines, it's medicine. Hospitals around the world rely on it every single day, often in life or death situations. For decades, O, especially O negative.
Not only is the condition rare, but Ridge also has an extremely rare blood type, O negative. Only 9 in every 100 people have that blood type.
Has been the unsung hero in emergency rooms, ambulances, and disaster zones. But AI is now changing how we understand and use this hero blood type, revealing that even O has layers of complexity doctors are only beginning to tap into. First, the basics. O negative is called the universal donor because it lacks both A and B antigens and the Rh factor. That makes it the safest choice when doctors don't have time to determine a patient's blood type, say, during trauma surgery or after a car accident. A bag of O negative can go into almost anyone, buying precious time. This is why blood banks treat O negative like liquid gold. Even though only about 7% of the population has it, O negative accounts for a huge percentage of emergency transfusions worldwide. O positive, while not universal, is the most common blood type overall, which makes it equally crucial in practice. Since nearly 40% of people have O positive,
1. 39% of people in Canada have the O positive blood type. 2. 85.1% of people in Canada can receive O positive blood.
Hospitals need a steady supply to meet everyday needs. Everything from routine surgeries to childbirth complications. In other words, if O negative is the emergency hero, O positive is the reliable workhorse that keeps the whole system running. But here's the twist. AI has shown that the universal donor title isn't as absolute as we once thought. Doctors have long known about rare cases where O-negative transfusions caused unexpected reactions. For years, these were chalked up as flukes, but AI-driven analysis of global transfusion records revealed a pattern. Hidden within O blood are tiny antigen variations, so small that traditional lab tests missed them, that can still spark immune responses in recipients. It doesn't happen often, but it's enough to matter. Now, AI algorithms can flag these subtle mismatches, reducing risks and making transfusions safer than ever. Another breakthrough comes from AI's ability to predict transfusion outcomes. Traditionally, doctors matched blood based on ABO type and RRH factor. But what if two O-positive donors aren't actually the same at the molecular level? AI models, trained on massive datasets, can now predict how well a specific donor's blood will work for a specific patient, factoring in everything from genetic quirks to past transfusion history. Think of it as precision matching, a step beyond the broad strokes of old-school blood typing. Organ transplants are another frontier where O blood has played a starring role. Because O carriers lack A and B antigens, they can donate organs to a wider pool of recipients. But the flip side is that O recipients can only accept organs from other O donors, making them some of the hardest patients to match. AI is helping here too, analyzing transplant databases to optimize donor-recipient pairings and reduce rejection risks. The hope is that one day, AI could even help modify donor organs through genetic editing or lab-grown tissue to make O recipients less vulnerable to rejection. And let's not forget pandemics. During the COVID-19 crisis, blood shortages became a global concern. AI helped hospitals predict demand spikes and manage supplies, ensuring that O-negative reserves were available for critical cases. Looking forward, AI could help blood banks plan months in advance, predicting shortages based on everything from seasonal accident rates to demographic changes in local populations. Perhaps the most inspiring part of O in medicine is its human story. Behind every unit of O blood is a donor, someone who rolled up their sleeve, often without knowing whose life they might save. AI may be revolutionizing how we manage and match blood, but the simple act of donation remains at the heart of it. And because O blood is in such high demand, O donors carry a particularly heavy responsibility. In some countries, regular O-negative donors are even flagged as priority donors during shortages. Culture, myths, and misconceptions. Science tells us blood type O is a fascinating product of genetics and evolution, but culture tells a whole different story. Across the globe, blood types have seeped into folklore, pop culture, and even everyday decisions. And when it comes to myths, O has collected plenty, some flattering, some downright odd. Let's start with Japan, where blood type isn't just a medical detail, but a cultural obsession. Since the early 20th century, a belief system called Ketsueki Gata has linked blood types to personality. O individuals are seen as confident leaders, practical, and sometimes stubborn. You'll even find job ads quietly favoring O applicants or dating profiles boasting, "I'm type O." South Korea has a similar fascination, casting O types as warrior-like, brimming with energy. Of course, none of this is backed by science. AI-powered text mining confirms what traditional studies already showed. No consistent link exists between blood type and personality. Still, the belief is so ingrained that it shapes social interactions, hiring, and even matchmaking. Myths may be unscientific, but they influence real behavior. Then there's the blood type diet, which claimed O people should eat high-protein meals because their ancestors were hunters. It sounded plausible and millions bought in. But modern studies, including AI-driven nutrition analysis, found little support. Blood type affects some health risks, but it doesn't dictate whether steak or salad is better. Your gut bacteria, lifestyle, and genes matter far more. Another misconception is that O blood is the healthiest or original type. In truth, O evolved later as a mutation of A. While it protects against certain diseases, it also raises risks for others, like ulcers. The idea of O as the pure blood type has even fueled pseudoscientific ideologies of superiority. Science and common sense push back. Blood types are survival tools, not hierarchies of human worth. AI is now helping to debunk these myths by analyzing massive data sets. One study showed O types do have slightly lower heart risks, but the difference vanishes once lifestyle is considered. Translation: your habits matter more than your blood label. Why do these myths stick around? Simple: blood type feels personal, an easy label we all carry. You're O, so you're a natural leader, sounds catchier than you're O, so you might have a higher ulcer risk. Culture thrives on stories, and blood types provide them even if science disagrees. Now, what happens when we stop looking at blood type O through the past and present, and instead ask what the future holds? AI and the next chapter of blood science. If the past century was about discovering blood types, the next one will be about decoding their hidden layers. And leading that charge? Artificial intelligence. What used to be a rigid 4-type system is now looking more like a sprawling family tree. With countless branches we're only beginning to map. For type O especially, the future looks like anything but simple. One of the biggest frontiers is precision medicine. Right now, most doctors think in terms of broad blood categories: O, A, B, AB, positive or negative. But AI is showing that even within O, there are micro-variations that affect everything from infection risk to clotting tendencies. Imagine a future where your medical chart doesn't just list O positive, but instead includes a detailed AI profile of your exact antigen structure and how it interacts with your genetics, diet, and immune system. That could change how doctors prevent disease, prescribe medications, and even tailor vaccines. Organ transplantation could also be revolutionized. Today, O recipients face one of the toughest challenges. They can only receive organs from other O donors, which creates long waiting lists. AI is already helping optimize donor-recipient matches by analyzing huge transplant databases. But looking further ahead, AI could guide gene-editing technologies to recode donor organs, making them universally compatible. In that future, the bottleneck of O recipients waiting for O organs might finally disappear. Another exciting angle is pandemic preparedness. During COVID-19, we got a taste of how blood type influences disease outcomes, and AI played a key role in uncovering those trends. As new pathogens emerge, AI could quickly analyze how different blood types interact with them, giving public health experts an early edge in planning treatments and vaccination strategies. For O carriers, this could mean faster, more personalized protection in future global health crises. There's also a role for AI in personalized nutrition and lifestyle planning. While the blood type diet is mostly myth, subtle links between O blood and gut bacteria are real. AI can sift through microbiome data and dietary habits to find individualized recommendations. Instead of one-size-fits-all health advice, O carriers might one day get lifestyle guidance tailored to their unique biology. Perhaps the most intriguing possibility is that AI could help rewrite how we even think about blood types. Right now, the ABO system feels neat and tidy, but in truth, it's only one way of categorizing blood. AI may uncover entirely new classification systems, more detailed, more predictive, and more useful for medicine. Someday, O might be just the tip of the iceberg, replaced by something far richer and more precise. In short, the future of blood type O isn't about staying blank and basic. It's about becoming a map of hidden complexity, a roadmap that AI is helping us read for the very first time. Agree on all of this? Drop your thoughts below and make sure you're subscribed for more sciencing.